the topic of the conversation I was hoping to start on record was I keep on meeting people like it's getting crazy. Everyone's got crypto now, like regular people. They're asking me questions about it. But going back to BSV, like you said, so you jokingly said it was a stable coin, but so it's a joke because it probably won't be because people will speculate and it will just increase the price.
No, Bitcoin is, in my opinion, the most hated coin in the cryptocurrency industry. And as a consequence, people, the majority of what you would currently consider the mainstream cryptocurrency industry don't want anything to do with it, which means that it's not heavily traded, and as a consequence, it doesn't fall victim to the speculative mania that's going on.
Hence the joke that it's stablecoin.
Yeah, because it hardly moves.
But if it would be just like Bitcoin, it would be highly speculated upon movement, and it would become a very good cryptocurrency for trading everyday goods, right?
So
you haven't solved that problem, have you?
No, but we've had 10 years to solve that problem, and instead of working on solving that particular problem, people have made it worse by just doubling down on the speculative narrative of cryptocurrency in general. The only way to make that problem go away is to drive real utility and real economic value into your cryptocurrency or into your digital currency.
Really?
Yes, really.
But you could argue Bitcoin has got that value for a long time.
What stabilizes your fiat currency? What stabilizes your dollar? What stabilizes it is the real economic value that underpins it. I mean, the exchange rates for regular currencies fluctuates, but they fluctuate minutely because they're primarily underpinned by economic value. Now,
that's a bit naive because it's always controlled, right? You know, Bundesbank and all the rest of it.
Fair enough. But if you take it on a spectrum of speculative versus real economic value underpinning the currency, right? There's a reason why you get hyperinflation in a currency like the Zim dollar or any of the other recent victims of hyperinflation, is because the currency became decoupled from the actual underlying economy, right? Then you suffer hyperinflation and things go basically sideways in a hurry. But if the currency is actually stably pegged against the real economy, then the currency might fluctuate a little bit, or it might fluctuate more than usual if the economy is relatively weak in the market, because people might still speculate on the currency, like the international sharks the economic hitmen, as it were, might still speculate on your currency and try to manipulate it if your economy isn't particularly strong. But the extent to which your economy strengthens means that your currency stabilizes.
So anyway, what you said doesn't make me any more confident that cryptocurrency can be stabilized, because like what economy would cryptocurrency be hedged upon?
The global economy, not any one country's economy.
That
but
sounds
the global.
very, very unstable to me.
How unstable is the global economy? If you look at, for example, a proxy indicator, like a broad ETF, an exchange traded fund from someone like Vanguard that has exposure in the economies of all the major powers and all the major economic sectors, sees stable growth over time, regardless of the local dips up and downs, right?
Yeah, because how is that link going to be ever made between cryptocurrency
that's what I'm saying.
and
that's what I'm saying. It is a problem.
It's never going to be made.
No. It's not a matter of saying that it's never going to be met. But the problem that I have with the cryptocurrency industry is that apart from a really small handful of enthusiasts in the space, nobody else is trying to get there. They're all pretty much happy with where they are right now, which is speculative mania
So you're saying
and pump and dump Ponzi schemes.
Your coin is basically making a better attempt than say Bitcoin or something.
Absolutely, and we're not there. I will 100% agree with you. We're not there. We're not close to being there. But at least that is the way you should be driving your coin towards real integration with the real economy for real underpinning economic value.
You must concede that the Bitcoin has made a lot of inroads in various markets and various, what do you call them, ETFs of coin.
Based on what value in the currency itself? What value does the token have, other than I'm going to hang on to this thing because somebody somewhere in the future is going to want to buy it off of my hands so that they can sell it on to somebody else? It's completely decoupled from the regular economy. Like this store of value narrative is such nonsensical economic.
I think you're being a little
thinking.
unfair.
No, I'm not being a little. I'm being accurate. Okay, tell me how I'm being unfair.
Because Bitcoin is like.
You mean BTC?
It's freaking main. Yeah, BTC. It's super mainstream now. Everyone is diversified. A lot of companies have diversified into keeping it as a store of value, right? So, by your definition, surely that means that they've somehow linked it to the value of economies and such.
No, because they're not actually using it for anything other than as a way to. How do Ponzi's work? Ponzi schemes literally work on the greater fool theory, right? You basically
that
everybody.
Like you're attacking me.
Sorry?
The greater fool. I feel attacked.
You feel attacked because I'm saying. Only if you think that you're the greater fool in this case.
Might be.
No, the way that I see it, right, is that you can spin a narrative to essentially try to convince whoever you want convincing that what you're actually selling them is real. I mean, how long did Bernie Madoff manage to get away with his thing?
Yeah.
How many real institutions with big money bought into Madoff's scheme? Would you say that Madoff's scheme was sound? No, obviously not, because it all came to tears in the end. So the argument that institutional buy-in is somehow underpinning real value in the system is not an indicator
what
of
is
value.
different between that and linking it to an economy? I mean, essentially, you're making a huge leap of bloody faith.
No, you're not. Not if you're linking it to the economy. When you're linking it to the economy, then you have real trade and real value, right?
So basically, you're saying that only if this coin is traded like real currency, like US dollars.
No, it shouldn't be traded. No, the coin should not be traded. It should be used as a medium of exchange.
If it's only then it would be linked to the economy.
That's part of it. And that's kind of the way that Bitcoin Cash is going. We need to drive the medium of exchange use case really hard to try and link it into the real economy. So there are three ways of thinking about this, right? If you have the three different properties that economists generally think of in terms of what makes money, medium of exchange, store of value. What's the third one?
I
can't remember either.
Oh, great.
This
is the worst bloody crypto
It'll come to me in a second.
podcast ever. No.
Anyway, so
are you gonna eat that roast pork?
I'm gonna eat all of this. Would you like some?
The crispy pork there is staring at me now.
So a unit of account is the third one, right? So loosely speaking, you can say that the three camps in Bitcoin, BTC, BCH, and BSV are loosely aligned with thinking in terms of the way to make my coin, to tie my coin into the real economy, is to BTC drive it as a store of value first, and then it will become utilitarian as a medium, a medium of exchange and as a unit of account. You start by making it a store of value. You can kind of loosely say that's what BTC is purporting to do. You can kind of loosely say that what BCH is purporting to do is to drive the narrative that you need to make this thing a medium of exchange first. Get it in people's hands so that they can use it for day-to-day casual transactions, and then you will eventually get to it becoming a store of value and a unit of account as well.
Wow.
The way that, hang on, I'm still making my point. The way that BSV thinks of it, loosely speaking, is no, both of you guys are wrong. The way that we should be approaching this thing is by making it a unit of account first, meaning driving strong utilitarian value first.
The third point that you forgot, okay.
Yep. That I now remembered, to my credit, is to drive the strong utilitarian narrative first, to actually get it into the hands of real businesses and real people who need real value to be delivered, or to grease the wheels of the real economy, as it were, and then it will become, through the utilitarian demand, a medium of exchange and a store of value. So you can say that there's sort of three different approaches, and we all believe that ours is the best one.
Well, Bitcoin started that way. I mean, come on.
Which one? BTC, BCH, or
BTC.
BSV? Started which way?
Trying to make it a medium of exchange, like a unit of
Well,
account.
they went off the rails really early on in the.
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem that long
hijacked.
ago that when Thomas was around doing his point of sale Bitcoin, you know.
And how did that work out for him?
Well, badly, but that's anyway. What you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
any different.
That is not a reflection on Thomas's abilities as a person.
No.
I'm saying that
I'm saying it
is an example of how that approach is perhaps worth considering, that it is not the best one. So I'll tell you the approach that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's say okay. Two scenarios here. Let's pretend that BSV becomes popular as a medium of exchange. What stops it from being speculated upon? I don't get it.
Nothing. It is being speculated upon.
So that means they're going to have exactly the same problems that we saw with Bitcoin. Nothing's changed.
You're going to have a balance between speculation and real utility.
I mean, it sounds like the same.
Okay, what is the problem that you foresee?
As 5 years ago.
What is the problem you foresee with somebody who starts from a utilitarian use case in which there is still speculation?
Repeat. I didn't get that. I would just repeat. I didn't quite get that.
Sorry. So I guess your point is that Bitcoin SV, which is trying to approach making this digital currency money, like proper money, is approaching it from a direction which will have the same consequence as what? No, I disagree with that.
How will it be different?
You will always have speculation, but it's different in the way that it is really hard to speculatively move the real economy. Think about it this way. How easy is it for even like state level actors
The real economy again.
to manipulate the real economy of another country?
I mean, there's been countless examples.
So there are.
George
but
Soros and the rest of it.
I don't know. I'm not getting into conspiracy theories about the Illuminati and lizard people, please.
Before he shifted everyone's mind over the vaccine.
No.
He did speculate pretty hard on the British
pound. Don't come at
pound.
me with a 5G vaccine theories, okay? Let's just keep it.
Okay. I still think there's a huge chasm in your argument. There's a huge chasm there. Like for example, let's pretend that the whole of Africa uses BSV and let's pretend that somehow everyone's using it and it is linked to the economy of Africa. Still, it can be easily destabilized.
But how? Okay, let me explain to you where the utilitarian value in BSV comes from. And then maybe you can use that as a point of departure to try and make your point. Because I understand that folks look at the fiat exchange rate of a cryptocurrency and the fluctuation of the fiat exchange rate as sort of value. I want to be clear though that when I say value, I don't tie the fiat exchange rate I don't think of the fiat exchange rate of a cryptocurrency as the value that it holds. Right? So that is sort of the first thing that I maybe want to clear up.
Just repeat that again. Sorry, my brain's taking
When-
soak this in. You don't
Usually when
speak it-
people say value, the value of my crypto or the value of my digital currency,
yeah,
what they really mean is the price that I can get for it in the open market when I sell it for a government currency like Singapore dollars of US or US dollars. So they consider that to be value.
Okay, so you're saying that you're not pegging the value of your favorite crypto on fiat.
No, I'm saying that if you're trying to drive utilitarian use case, then you can't think like that because then you will fail. So let me explain to you then where the value comes from.
Okay.
The only thing that is actually stable in big block Bitcoin is the price per Satoshi of transaction fees.
That's stable.
It's really stable. It's incredibly stable. In fact,
Like stable as in like
it fluctuates a
historically
lot
stable,
less.
or-
It fluctuates a lot less in terms of its fiat exchange rate than what any other metric does. And in fact, the price gets driven downwards through internal economic pressure of competition amongst the miners. I won't go into the details of that, but let's just say for a moment that it's a given that the stable thing that you can think of in terms of the internal economy of a big block Bitcoin is the cost or the fees that you pay to make one transaction. Now consider what you can do within the real economy, within a business's backend or within trade, where you can remove the friction of the existing rails that exist, either for EDI, like data interchange, or for payment rails, like how to make over-the-counter payments, or even for central bank digital currencies, right? The back end, the rail that actually ties all of this stuff together is still a network where you need the integrity and...
So you're saying, okay, just to play this back, you're saying that the processing of the crypto is independent of the value.
I'm saying, let me, it's not entirely, because there is still a coupling between the price and between the fiat dollar price and the per byte per transaction cost.
But it's so small.
It's so small, and there is downward pressure on it so that it actually gets cheaper over time, that we can pretty much kind of over the long view say that it is cheap enough that it is cheaper to transact in that medium than anything else that exists on the payment rails, including Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, whatever.
A Bitcoin maximalist argue back that Bitcoin is safer because of all this, the high costs of processing and things like this?
No, that ties more into broken economic theory, like the labor theory of value, where the thing has value because somebody put a lot of effort into making it. So yes, hash power leads to some form of economic security, but hash power, which is what you're talking about, is not the driver of value, and it's not the primary underpinning of the security model. The security model and the solution to the Byzantine general's problem is not driven purely by hash power, which is kind of the argument that people who say that would be making.
Well, it's just common sense. If something is cheap to do, then maybe it can be cheaply attacked. Like generates noise or something. If these processing fees are so low as you can claim, couldn't someone just create noise?
They could, and what would be the consequence for them if they do? They're economically disincentivized from doing so, because if they do, they're hurting themselves economically. Also remember, the network does not have to go along with what noise you're broadcasting.
Well, the network
You could
can
literally
censor it.
No, you could fork yourself off of the network by doing stuff like that.
You can fork yourself off the network. How?
Because people will refuse to, if you're a miner and you're building blocks on the blockchain, because these are the only people who can affect it.
And you refuse to take that person's.
You refuse, yeah. Through a general consensus, the other miners could just say, screw that guy. We're not building on any of his blocks. We're forking the network. Let him continue to do his useless attack and see where it gets him with the useless forked coins that he now holds.
Forking doesn't sound as easy.
This is literally a Nakamoto consensus. I'm not arguing Nakamoto consensus. I don't want to get into the way that Nakamoto consensus works.
Difficult to achieve.
Okay, maybe we should talk about that then, because it sounds like you don't understand or don't believe that Nakamoto consensus works.
No. I'm just saying, like, let's talk about denial of service attacks on the web, right? Usually, it's some zombie machines that are being compromised, and they're generating traffic, and generating traffic to some levels costs money, but they find cheap ways of doing it, and they render a website offline or something like that. So you're telling me that, like, if someone manages to generate a lot of noise, a consensus can be achieved in a timely manner, and making this, I don't know, denial of service noise attack.
The kind of attack that you're describing is feasible and it's possible, but it becomes less so with big block Bitcoin. On small block Bitcoin, where you have like the small, arbitrarily constrained size of the blocks, where the miners can't absorb the spike in transaction processing that ends up filling up the backlog, right? Because they've never been incentivized to build out their infrastructure, means that necessarily small block Bitcoin needs the hash power narrative in order to prevent these kinds of attacks. But big block Bitcoin, the economic incentives are more properly aligned, and it becomes more expensive, even with a lower amount of hash rate, to attempt these attacks against big block Bitcoin. Because the honest miners will just collaborate and fork you off the network, and then they're holding useless coins. That's one form of defense. But yes, generally speaking, hash power is important, but not in the way that you might be suggesting, I would say.
Okay.
Honest nodes are mentioned in the Bitcoin white paper. And the reason why honest nodes are mentioned is because honest nodes are generally the ones who are looking after the network and who are in agreement about what the network should look like. The theoretical 51% attack that people talk about, which is sort of this thing, if you can cheaply attack it with more and overwhelm the other nodes in the network with hash power, nothing forces those nodes to listen to what you're actually saying. Those are all independent economic actors, and they can pick up their toys and go play in a different sandbox if they want to.
Okay. Anyway, how did we even get onto this topic?
We're talking about the three main differences between Bitcoins and store of value, medium of exchange.
Yeah, you were just basically saying that processing value is a lot cheaper, and I was just saying.
Yeah, that's the way. So that is the approach that I would take, or that I believe that Bitcoin BSV is generally taking, which is to make big block Bitcoin essentially the backbone and the more easily to essentially grease the wheels of real industry, and in so doing become part of the real economy. And when that happens, or as that increasingly happens, the theory is that it starts that the network becomes valuable in the same way that the internet became valuable when it started absorbing real economic value from businesses who were using it to facilitate their trade.
Let's talk about real value, the real economy here. Let's say BSV became linked to the real economy, which I find extremely hard to fathom. But okay, let's say it does. Is it winner take all at this point? Is BSV the thing that rules them all, or do you imagine there's going to be 10 BSV type currencies in this utopian world that you're living in?
The way that the folks in the BSV camp like to think about it is we're involved in a protocol war, You have basically lots of different protocols that are trying to become the new rails of the new world economy. In the same way that we had Banyan Vines, IPX, SPX, NetBuoy,
Oh, is that how you pronounce NetBoy? Okay. I always like said
NetBoy,
voice or something.
TCP/IP, right? All competing for the same.
So basically,
to basically be the last man standing.
everyone will settle on IPv4.
There is still NetBuoy installation somewhere in the world, guaranteed. Somebody is still running Banyan Vines. God bless their soul.
What? Banyan Vines?
Banyan Vines.
Don't even know what that. What do you mean,
Well,
like?
No. I'm not getting into it, right? So, so that's the way that I think about it, or that the people in BSV generally like to think about it, is that we're in a protocol
that's quite
war.
maximalist. That's like IPv4. Then
I'm not
right?
saying that. I'm saying that yes, I believe that we're going to come out on top, and we're going to come out on top because we provide the same sort of value, and we're trying to achieve, and we have actually got the roadmap that is trying to achieve what TCP/IP did for the internet. And what is the roadmap?
Do you think IPv4? Do you think IPv6 didn't have a roadmap?
No. Hang on. These are different things. Think about it. Why is IPv6 taking so long to implement, and why is it so hard to roll out and getting people to come on board with it?
It's quite complicated.
I would make a different argument. I would say that the reason
It's
IPv6 is taking so long is because of the massive network effect and the massive economic value that IPv4 has managed to absorb. So you're essentially trying to move this massive ship, which is IPv4, and that is proving to be an extremely hard thing to do, considering the economically entrenched nature of the network. But IPv4 got there in how long? 20 years. From 1990 to 2010.
It had mindshare from the get-go.
Yeah, but regardless, there wasn't that much economic value in 1990 compared to 2010 in the internet.
Yeah,
so you can say that the economic value in the network.
It is a network effect.
But think about it. In 1990, Novell could still go out, sell Novell Netware into a corporate network with proprietary expansion boards, which would only basically work with their network. IBM could still go in and sell into a small business their token ring systems or whatever the case they were using, right? Could they still do that in 2010? Would anybody still bite? No. TCP/IP had basically come to dominate the space in a 20-year span. So that's what I'm saying is that now we are. It might not be BSV. I'm saying that I believe it will be, but let's be realistic. It might not be. But the way that these things go, somebody has to come out on top. You can't have fractured. You can't consider the economic consequences of having 20 different internet protocols that don't interoperate, or that interoperate really hard to interoperate.
Okay. Let's talk about the elephant in the room then. How are you going to displace Bitcoin? I mean, you could argue that Bitcoin is IPv4. How the hell can you possibly displace it?
I think they're going to displace themselves. In the same way that IBM displaced themselves by not being on the up when they realized the personal computing revolution was happening. In the same way that Yahoo didn't understand search. In the same way that any one of a number of incumbent giants in the industry have fallen flat, right? Because they didn't understand what was going on.
Bitcoin is a little bit different. I mean, it's an open source network.
Different how?
It's not run by...
The argument you're making is about the incumbent is so big that it can't be dislodged.
Yeah, but the incumbent isn't a Google or a big company or an IBM.
Yeah, it's got no real economic value.
No, it's run by a whole bunch of dudes. A whole bunch of people.
What is the argument here?
It's decentralized.
That a bunch of random guys on the internet...
No. I'm saying it's completely decentralized.
No, it's not.
It is.
Okay. What do you think? What do you mean when you say decentralized?
No one company can fuck it up. No one actor, state, or otherwise can fuck it up. There's no way.
What about a number of coordinated actors?
Who's the conspiracy theorist there?
Okay, let me tell you how not just Bitcoin, but the cryptocurrency industry as a whole can get screwed over like this.
Okay. I'm a bit worried we're running out of battery, but quickly.
Exchange regulation. The government's not going to come for your network, they're going to come for your fiat on-ramps. Those of us who believe that the real economic value lies in the fiat exchange rate of our cryptocurrency, see what happens when the governments start locking down the traditional payment rails that people use to cash in and out of their speculative Ponzi coin.
Well, that's been happening for as long as I can remember.
No. You're saying that the thing is decentralized, it can't be attacked or taken down. How much value exists in that network
there's been
when
attacks
people
like this
can
that
no
made
longer...
impact? I mean, I'm pretty sure China's outlawed Bitcoin, hasn't it?
What happens when the government... No, I'm saying that your argument is essentially that state level actors can't impact it negatively. And I'm telling you exactly how they can do it, because it's not as if they haven't done this before.
For example, China outlaws Bitcoin. What impact has it had?
On the Chinese people, they can't exit their positions anymore.
Doesn't seem to have impacted the currency at all, does it? The coin.
Hang on.
In fact, it's probably
In what way? In the speculative price of the coin? Do you know what happened?
The network,
do you even know what happened to the Bitcoin network when the Chinese miners go offline or when the Chinese government starts making noises? Have you seen what happens to the price?
goes down a little bit.
A little bit.
Because everyone's probably alarmist because the hash rate.
What happens when
goes down a lot.
Most of the hash rate is in China, and your whole economic narrative around what underpins the value of your cryptocurrency is that hash rate drives value, like basically labor theory of value nonsense. When that disappears, then your narrative collapses and people exit the coin. Yeah. And the way that happens is the government just basically has to come for you.
Well, I chose that example because it's the most extreme, and I don't think it's made a big impact. And again, yes, the governments the governments can ban or make it difficult to do the interchange between fiat and everything like that.
In Singapore.
But governments can also fuck up the BSV dream and stop you
from... No, I didn't say that we're excluded from this. I'm saying that everybody can be screwed over.
I thought you're isolating
no.
the fact that
everybody
that
can be screwed over. No. Digital currencies or cryptocurrencies are not special in that they can't be screwed over by government. They're not special at all.
No government is going to outlaw Bitcoin but not BSV, is it?
They're not going to outlaw Bitcoin. They're going to make it so difficult for people to get in and out of it or outright ban people getting into it. Look what Singapore has done. Right? Singapore has basically made it really, really hard for you to get in and out of cryptocurrency unless you are heavily regulated according to the VASP. You have to carry a VASP license, right? Virtual Asset Service Provider license. You have to carry that if you're...
Well, that's if you're like an exchange, isn't it?
But this is what I'm talking about. Governments are not going to attack the coins directly. They will regulate the exchanges and the on-ramps. And when it comes time for when they feel fed up, like these things are extracting value rather than adding value, they will simply cancel the licenses of the exchanges.
Okay.
Poof.
Yeah, but I thought I was trying to keep this conversation on a BSV versus BTC type frame, and you just basically described the problem that all the coins face, right?
Yeah, because you made the argument that decentralization means that there is no large actor that can impact the market generally. And I'm
just trying to say that Bitcoin is, I think, quite robust at this point in time.
I'm saying that no, it's a false narrative.
Because you earlier made the example that IBM can screw up, any big company can screw up. Fine, I'm okay with that. But
Bitcoin is already
but that's a poor comparison.
BTC has already screwed up. I think that BTC screwed up maybe about 5 years ago.
By going small block.
Yeah, not just small block, but by modifying the protocol into a broken mess that can't scale as well, by breaking the fundamental economics of the system.
Well, it seems... Well, I'm not compelled by any of these arguments, really. It's like small versus big block. And essentially the same problems remain for both currencies, as far as I can tell.
Which problems in?
Speculation.
That's where we are.
Getting linked to the economy and all that other
So that's where we are.
jazzy stuff.
That's where we are. Unfortunately, the thing though is that if I'm going to be an independent party and I'm going to decide what I'm going to be doing with my time and my effort and what I believe has a future, if this was 1990 and I had to decide, am I going to start a business by being a service provider? Am I going to get my Novell NetWare systems administrator? Do you remember those certifications?
Yeah, CCNE.
Yeah, CCNE, CCNA. Am I going to get my certified Novell Network Administrator certification? Or am I going to, well, actually at the time there was no Red Hat or Microsoft.
Quick sidelight. I remember Novell quite nicely. I really like their stuff because when your PC joins in a network and make like a beep, it's quite useful for debugging.
Regardless, right? So if it's 1990 and I have to place my bets, I would probably say that, you know what, NetWare is pretty strong. My university network runs it. All the small businesses are running it. I think that NetWare is a really solid bet for the future. And you wouldn't be wrong.
Meanwhile, you have chosen BSV, which is like the most esoteric coin out there, isn't it?
Because I think that we understand things now which we did not understand back in the 90s about the way in which network effects work within distributed networks. We didn't have the kind of global scale distributed networks in the early 90s. And I think that nobody really understood what happens
but going back
when
to
you
your
can
example,
scale globally.
If you're going to choose between NetWare and I don't know what else, you wouldn't have known the scale problems back then either.
Yeah, that's why I believe that but this is why I believe that I'm in a...
kind of terrible analogy then.
No, I think it's a perfect analogy because I think that it means that the massive economic opportunity for outsized returns through value creation as a capitalist investor exists in Bitcoin SV.
Well,
because nobody's looking at it and nobody has realized the actual underpinning value. This is how you as an entrepreneur have to think, right? Where is the undiscovered gem that nobody's paying attention to?
We're going in circles there. You just described speculation. You're basically only getting into it because it's the most speculative bet you can make.
No, but you're conflating what I'm speculating on in terms of your value narrative that I'm speculating in a fiat currency, because I'm not. I'm not speculating in terms of fiat terms. I'm basically placing a bet. Yes, it's a risk. Yes. But the bet that I'm placing is I'm going to try and create a real business that drives real economic value that's independent from the fiat value price of the coin versus the price speculative narrative of I'm going to put money into this thing because number go up. Two very different things, right?
Well,
one is I'm going to speculate in the price. The other one is I'm going to put in the hard work and effort to create a real business that delivers real value for real customers.
Yeah, but if you talk to any Bitcoin maximalist, they don't necessarily going to talk about fiat. They're just going to talk about Bitcoin. So then
no. They're going to talk about fiat. They're going to talk your ear off about how it's basically a hedge, how it's digital gold, how it's a store of value. But a store of value in which terms? A store of value in my favorite fiat currency. They price and talk about Bitcoin in terms of their exit strategy in fiat. That's the entire narrative.
Well, I've met Bitcoin, what do you call it? Supporters who don't think that way, seriously.
Who don't, what were they? Okay, give me an example, because I would love to hear this.
Well, I think, of a person.
No, of an argument that somebody like that would make.
Come on, man. Someone who's dead into Bitcoin and thinks that Bitcoin's going to replace money is going to probably make some stupid argument that fiats don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, fiat is dead. They print money. Have a look at bird up money.
I don't disagree with that. I think that fiat is basically being debased.
The argument is made a million times. So that obviously there's a lot of people who think that Bitcoin is the only thing. And they don't pitch it. They don't They don't pitch it in their minds against fiat.
No, but how? How though? How could it possibly be a payment rail for the globe if the network supports 1
Shit.
megabyte worth of bandwidth.
God damn it. Just want to wrap up here because we've talked a solid 30 minutes or so about Bitcoin, BTC versus Bitcoin, Satoshi versus BSV. And some arguments were made, but to be honest, I'm a bit unconvinced. But I'd be interesting to hear if you're convinced of either of my arguments or Stefan's arguments, rather, in the comments below.
Okay, so in closing, the only thing that I would say is that in order for something to become globally useful and to become money for the world, it actually needs to be able to move between people. In order to be able to move between people in a frictionless manner, the way that cash can, right? The cost of moving the money back and forth between us can't exceed the actual value of the transaction. In the same way that if an NFT on Ethereum costs $30, right? If the price of the NFT is $30, but the cost of the transaction is $40, then I'm not buying that NFT.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you $5. You're not going to give me $5 back. It's
precisely.
not even close to $5.
Yeah.
It would have to be
So that's where the Bitcoin BTC network is at this point. They've lost the game when they decided to go small block, because even if they become the world's best store of value, right, which they can't, because it just won't happen, that money can never move, because they would never be able to be used as money, because money needs to be frictionless to be exchanged. It needs to be a medium of exchange as well. BTC has broken the network, can't work.
Okay,
so it can never be money. BSV and Bitcoin Cash have the right idea, but BSV has got the better idea.
I think you might be overstating that whole thing because cash, as we have it with fiat, does work quite well. I mean, having this layer on top of cash.
But why does it work well? Because the money that it's printed on is typically, or the paper that is printed on is typically of a lower value than the transaction you're actually engaging in.
Yeah.
So rather than people trading the paper themselves, they'd much rather get rid of the paper for the real thing they want to get.
And it works without power.
Oh, no. I'm not making it. Oh, cash is great. I think that physical cash is fantastic.
Yeah, but you seem to be stressing.
But there are use cases for which physical cash are not useful. Right? Like making a transaction of less than a cent.
Why would you do that?
Aha! That's what Bitcoin SV is useful for. Micropayments on the internet where the transactional value is less than a cent.
Sounds like a terrible use case to me.
Okay, guess what? The founding reason for Bitcoin was exactly this.
Micropayment.
Satoshi said this. Satoshi said that the internet needs a money that can replace the existing payment rails, because the existing payment rails on the internet don't allow for small casual transactions, because they...
When you say small, I didn't think it would be less than a cent small.
Oh, yeah. Because Visa and PayPal and the incumbents at the moment can maybe do $1 or $2, and even then it becomes kind of hard for you to make the case that I can take in incremental $1 or $2 payments. If you want internet commerce, right? Satoshi envisioned it, because that's literally what he wrote in the white paper. The founding reason for Bitcoin was frictionless peer-to-peer payments, right? Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, frictionless peer-to-peer payments at a price value lower than what the incumbents of the day were able to do it.
Yeah, but if
this idea of a store of value came later.
But even if you make
the argument that this can't possibly work, all I'm saying is this was kind of the founding principles of the project.
Yeah, but can we just have a reality check? Right now, when you make a credit card payment with Stripe, they charge you, I think, 30 cents plus 0.2% or something?
Oh, no, I agree with you. We can't.
So why are we talking sub-cents?
Because there are economically valuable interactions like streaming, for example, that could be billed at the sub-cent level, especially if you're talking about social media interactions, for example.
I think that's like, what do you call it?
No, you don't have to be
splicing a hair, isn't it?
Not really. It's sound economics to think that there is a big part of the economy where you can't have value exchange at the moment because the cost of doing business in that segment is just too high. But I also agree with you that the time for Bitcoin is running out.
What?
The
I
time
didn't
for
say
cryptocurrency is running out because digital currency, in the way that all the incumbents are envisaging it, is becoming better and cheaper to use all the time. Bitcoin was amazingly unique in 2010. It's not quite as fancy or unique today because, like you say, Stripe is pushing down the margins quite to getting closer to. Stripe couldn't do 30 cents. Nobody could do 30 cents per transaction 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you didn't have digital wallets like Grab or WeChat wallet, right? The existing new
What I'm
rails that
saying
are
is that
being
if
put
it
in,
gets down to a couple of cents, that's going to be
In 10
way good enough.
in 10
Then
years'
it's status
time,
quo.
if Bitcoin hasn't stepped up, it's dead. Because there would just not be a use case for it anymore.
Okay.
Central bank digital currencies, telecoms provider wallets, and all of the rest of the traditional payment rails would have completely removed its ability to absorb value. Or make it so hard that it could never
I
succeed.
hear your argument, but I think it is a bit far-fetched.
Okay,
Okay.
we can end it there. That was more than 1 minute, by the way.
Okay, great. Let's see if this makes sense. If you got this far, I'll buy you a coffee.